Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome from Texas to the Texarcist Live. Tonight we'll be talking about the New World Order and the beast system and how that is being implemented or how it will be implemented, and the reason that it is showing it is we will talk about the evidence of that beast system, that system of surveillance and tracking and targeting certain people. Well, not just certain people, but people that that don't follow the rules of the New World Order and the beast system. We will take a short break and allow listeners who wish to join our live chat to do so. Also, you can call in and reach me here at 903-956-0055 with questions, comments, personal experiences. Anyway, be right back and we'll get started.
I was on the borderline. I was just a falling down. I had all my hopes pinned down on you. I always had the end in sight. Always felt the hunger from the night. I saw my dreams burn up with you. Would you really know if you saw the real me? Would you even know if you stood beside me? If you saw the real me, I could read 1,000 words in any book. I could give it back to those who took too much. Ooh, but would you really know if you saw the real me? Would you even know if you stood beside me? Oh, if you saw the real me.
Okay, and I'm back. So anyway, we are seeing more and more take place at hey Elaine, we're seeing more and more take place at CERN, gaining more and more power, and you just have to wonder, since CERN is the birthplace. CERN is the developer or the creator of the Jacob is the creator of the World Wide Web, the internet. You have to wonder, with all this power, this being able to reach into other dimensions through quantum computing and things like that. Just how much are we not being told about their surveillance, and just how in depth? Hey, Patricia, and just how in depth that is. And I think it would probably blow our minds if we knew just just how, um, just to what degree that is, you know. Spider-Man, big time. Which that's exactly, there's a lot of different, patterns and everything, and it seems that one of them is the number 8, and the spider, the octopus, um, the web, it's all, there's some truth in it, and well, that's true. Great power comes great responsibility, and if not, then it's not going to work out very well. But CERN is now closed down for patching and repairing and getting ready to revamp and for the Large Hadron Collider to reach its maximum power. It should be in about 2 years. But anyway, I'm hoping that that I will be contacted by a person that that will hopefully join by phone and talk about some of this stuff. But I've not been able to contact them, so I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, that's just how it goes. They tried to contact me and or met with some security alert warning. I don't know. Go figure. Especially when you're talking about topics like I talk about and everything. Yeah, you tend to raise you get on the radar, and why people are being somehow blocked from reaching me. Not all people, just some, and I don't know why. So, but it's happened before, so it's it's just one of those deals. But exactly, talking about the New World Order, back in the 80s, like the late 80s, early 90s, George H.W. Bush, the father that just died, he made it was really creepy too. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. He says, he says we will have a new world order, and he's just creepy as hell. I mean, just really creepy. Just almost like Mr. Rogers, mixed with Satan. It's like and we will have a new world order, not the order of the jungle, but a place of peace. And he says, and we will have it. And he's like smiling into the camera, and it's like, good God, I just want to, ugh. It was just freaky, I mean, just really like, man, this is a little much, for the president of the United States at the time to be talking like that. I mean, it was, oof. He says, he talked about the 1,000 points of light, and that's another esoteric, phrase, is the 1,000 points of light, and everything. But, and Jacob, you're right, they're trying to accelerate particles faster than the speed of light. Um, all this talk about light, especially from well, back then, I mean, it was the first time that a president had just come out and started talking about you know things like that with all this esoteric symbolism and and that, but it all has most of it has to do with light or the absence of light or darkness, but their light, their idea of light is a little bit different from what our idea is. I mean, there can be some light that is full of darkness, So it's light is, in one context, light is knowledge, and that knowledge can be used for good or it can be used for evil, and so it can be light or darkness. And but those of you that have seen that clip of President George H.W. Bush and his creepy message, and I mean he was like hey, and we are gonna have it. We are gonna have it. I mean, there was no doubt in his mind that it was a done deal. It's just a matter of time before it's implemented. And it's like, whoa. Just, I mean, it gave me the creeps. I'm just checking to see if you saw that, Jacob, or if you saw that, Elaine. Tricia, the only way you could see it was like YouTube because it was way before your time. But anyway, I'm going to take a really quick break that I need to take, and we'll be right back. Or I'll be right back. I don't have a mouse on my shoulder. So just hang tight, and I'll be right back.
Think about the times when we were young. Now look at the people we become. Tonight I understand you're not my enemy. No. Lying in the bed right next to you, making me forget what I've
And I am back. Talking about the clip, the video clip of the former president George H.W. Bush, the father, that he's promising that we will have a new world order. And he goes on, and it's really creepy how he describes it. And there's no doubt in his mind that we are going to have it. I mean, it is beyond creepy. So if you can, like right now, Jacob, you said that you've seen it. How did that? How did that make you feel when you saw him and heard his words and saw how he was just, I mean, it was different, you have to say. At least it was to me. Just, man, I mean, it was like, I know something you don't know, and it was creepy. And this is former president, I mean, it's the president at the time, and it's like, whoa, this is getting real quick, and yeah, and there's different terms in that you may know, you may not know. Most people don't, but when you hear like during certain presidential speeches, and not all, wouldn't say not all presidents. I would say not. Well, let me start over. Not all presidents that I've heard have used these terms. It's just some use terms like the angel and the whirlwind, and just different metaphorical terms, and but they're also esoteric terms. They have a hidden meaning, and people are like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? Or it flies right over their head, and they just kind of slip that into in their speeches or whatever. And okay, Elaine, you say Eisenhower spoke of the New World Order as well in 1961. I wasn't aware that it went that far back, but thank you for that. Eisenhower, okay, well, if he spoke about that in 1961, then that makes sense, because what happened in 63? You had a young president coming up that wasn't going to listen to, that wasn't going to be controlled, and what happened? Assassinated publicly, made an example of, and that's exactly what that was. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not even implying that Eisenhower had anything to do with that. I'm just saying that, thank you, Elaine. I'm just saying that it's, it was really, people were starting to, yeah, Jacob, exactly. Yeah, 12 years in the White House, 8 under Reagan, 4 as president, and it was creepy to look in his eyes. Exactly. Man, you've got my hair standing up right now, because that's exactly what I was going to say, is his eyes were literally, they are glittering. I mean, they are shining. He's so excited, and it's like, man, I mean, what in the hell? This is creepy. His eyes look like vipers or something. I mean, it's just creepy as hell. And the way that he spoke, was almost as if he was trying to, with his eyes and the way he spoke, and there was a certain way that he spoke. It was very soothing, very almost feminine. I mean, it's like, but what is that? That's like enchanting. It's like you're trying to hypnotize someone. And it's just really just absolutely it is creepy. It is it's they're trying to he's trying to I guess in a way it's well, the word for serpent in Hebrew. Hey Zippy, glad you joined us. The word for serpent in Hebrew is nakash, which means enchanter. It means whisperer, and it literally means to to whisper, to speak like a certain way, to enchant. And buddy, if there was, I don't believe that there's any other way that you could call what that speech was other than very enchanting, because it was almost like he was casting a spell over, somebody. That is certainly what came to my mind. Oh, okay. Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, and I would encourage you all to look up these links that Elaine has. Yeah, it is really interesting. So that was 1961. Is that the one where he talked about the danger of the military-industrial complex? Excuse me just a sec. Excuse me just a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back. Had a had a catastrophe. All three dogs escaped their. All three dogs escaped their room, and guess what? They came charging in to see Daddy. So, boom. Anyway. And all the dog lovers said amen. Jacob, you said almost like it wasn't him talking. Weird. Exactly. I mean, it was. I don't think I've ever seen a better display of enchanting or that. That is literally how I think, and how I describe what I think that the serpent, that spoke to Eve in the garden, or supposedly, I think that that's what that's talking about. Is it just lulls the person into such a sense of security and almost like a maternal protection and love when it's not. It's just it's the exact opposite. It's leading you to destruction. But is it, okay, Elaine? Yes, I have seen that one. Yes, and hats off to Dwight D. Eisenhower for, that took some courage to speak out against the military-industrial complex. I mean, and you want to talk about they don't play. I mean, look at Kennedy, and it's probably the most powerful. You talk about the movers and shakers. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean the military-industrial complex. Whoa. You look at Kennedy, and what did he do? He went up against, and I'm not going to name any specific groups by name because I don't want that. That's a surefire way to get shut down. But the lettered agencies that I'm talking about. He said that he was going to destroy or disassemble one of those agencies that he said he was going to destroy it and into 1,000 pieces, and he wasn't. Yes, exactly. Yes, JFK said that secret societies were a threat to the country, if not the world. I mean, he said that. He said, said those of you that do things in secret, he said, these secret societies and everything. He said it is a threat to the country, and he said that he says for what you do in secret, what you do in the darkness, he said, why not do it in the light? And but you're right, Elaine. Most of the presidents, when they speak, the speeches are written for them, and they just read the teleprompter, right? But and he was, you could tell that it was written. I mean, he wasn't speaking, freely, but it's the way that he read it. I mean, I have never seen. Truthfully, I have never seen anybody that gave me the creeps as much as he did when he read that. Because that was not. I guess what I'm trying to say is that was not someone attempting to act creepy. That was not someone attempting to act like that they had power. That is someone who really has it. And just like Jacob said, it was almost like it wasn't him talking. You know what? I don't think it was. I think that's what's so creepy about it. Is that was not him. It was like something speaking through him, and but later on he before he became vice president, he became head of certain agency, and talk about power. I mean, George H.W. Bush was probably the most powerful man on the planet for a very long time, if not to the day he died. Yeah, I mean, read some of the accounts of like the it's the Bay of Pigs, the attempted overthrow of Castro in Cuba, and you will find that George H.W. Bush was there, making his presence known even that far back. I think that was like 60, 61, 62, maybe 61. And then, there's a lot of other things that, I really don't want to mention because it gets into conspiracy and, he's just a very, very powerful person, and was also dead set on bringing about the New World Order. And what we have to understand is that these people in the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call it, in the light, the Illuminati, the illumined ones, like the Rothschilds, and they have, I think it was back in like the 1600s, Nathan Rothschild, actually, I believe it was Nathan Mayer, had, and he changed his name to Rothschild, said about this new world order, coming about. But that's just it. Is just because it doesn't come about in their lifetime, it doesn't matter. It's a generational, it might take, 300-400 years for it to come about, but that's what they're doing, is they're working on that. And if you look at the Rothschilds, they're still around today. I mean, his, sons, his lineage, and they're still working on it. Jacob Rothschild is alive and well, and their family is worth $500 trillion. I mean, think about that. $500 trillion. They have funded every war since Napoleon, and have played both sides. So it's a win-win situation when you do that. You don't lose. It's just the people that are in the war, they're the ones that pay. But why? I mean, why? It's always you can ask what, where, when, but the question that always brings the knowledge is why. What's the reason? Well, it's usually, if not always, who gains? Who gains from it? Ask yourself that in everything, in every, war that takes place, and every attack that takes place is who gains, and right, Zippy, genocide, yes, and it's it's like they are the elite, or they see themselves as being superior, and because why else would you wipe out people that you viewed inferior to you. I try to lane what, where, when, why, and how. That's all. Those are all, very valid. But the one that brings you knowledge, that brings you the answer, is why. Why did it happen? Who stands to gain the most, or who stands to gain anything? Yeah. And why, or why did they do it? Or you could just say, what did they have to gain? Yeah. And ooh. Yes, Lane. Those containers, those are outer burial containers. I was a funeral director for 20 years, and those are outer burial containers. Those aren't caskets, but they're you can stack those, and you can't stack caskets, so they can haul a lot more of those than they can caskets. And you basically you just dig a grave, and you drop those in there, and you can put whatever you can put a one body in there, or you can put several bodies in there, and then you close it, and it's like forms a seal that is airtight. I mean, it doesn't. It's a sealer. It's a protective outside burial container. So that would be so much better than using caskets, which would not be protected. And that means that if their plan is to kill 6.5 million people, and bring the population down to 500 million, that would be something that you would really be concerned about, is about contaminating the soil with caskets that were leaking, and those outside burial containers, they don't leak. They seal, and very creepy when you think about it. But that's the reason why they're using those, is because they're they can stack those, and they're easily put them on a flatbed. I don't know how many you can take, but a hell of a lot more than you can caskets. So, as if you say Rockefeller's family referenced most as feeble-minded, and they should be eliminated. Yeah, right. And you look at Jacob Rockefeller, and and they're talking to him, and I mean, the guy's like, I'm not making fun of him, but it's like, I believe there might have been some inbreeding there, which that's the truth. I mean, and you can see it. I mean, he is, they're going to say that others are feeble-minded. I mean, this guy's like, he's like 2 brain cells away from drooling on the floor. Seriously. So, let's see. You said read about Carrie Buck from the 1920s. She was sterilized against her will. I think I have, but or I read something like that. I'm not sure if it was her or whatever, but there's a YouTube video. I don't approve of what took place, but there's these guys that are out, and they're walking along this, sidewalk or whatever, and it's at night, and they walk up on Jacob Rockefeller. I mean, the richest guy on the planet, and he doesn't have any, no bodyguards and nothing around him. And these guys start giving Jacob Rockefeller, a hard time, which I don't approve of that in any way. Don't go up to some guy and start giving him a hard time. But they did, and I mean he's probably 80, 85. I mean, feeble, and they're telling him, yeah, your family has done some horrible things, and he's just oblivious to it, and he's just smiling, and it was like, guys, I tell you, I would be, I wouldn't really count on it, but I would be on alert just in case he was to, morph into something and bite you like a vampire, because that's how he looked. I mean, he was like smiling, and he's old. I mean, very old. But the way that he was looking, it's like he was almost like laughing at him, because he's like, you're not intimidating me one bit, and it was creepy. And these guys are like, what's so funny or something, and he's just smiling and calm as a cucumber. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are going to get hurt by this old man, And finally he, gets in his car, or the car pulls up for him, and he leaves. But yeah, that's another creepy one. It's just, it's appearances can be deceiving, and in that case, that's the truth. But Zip, you say how big oil conquered the world is a great document. Yes, yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is JFK went up against big oil. The Texas oilman. I mean, he really, they really are like, no, this is not going to fly. And, yeah. And also, he was planning on pulling troops out of Vietnam. And Johnson, his vice president, Johnson was against that, because they were making money by what? Well, drugs from Vietnam that were being flown in under the cloak and cloak and dagger of what was it, Pepsi, certain brands of certain things. And well, it wasn't soft drinks or anything like that. It was drugs, and made a lot of people a lot of money. And they weren't gonna kill that cash hog. So troops were set to be pulled out, and after JFK was assassinated, I think it was within days, if not within the day, that directive was reversed, and troops stayed in Vietnam. And when you read about the Gulf of Tonkin incident, that's false. That was a false flag. There was never an American ship that was attacked by the Vietnamese. Gulf of Tonkin, look it up. It was false flag, just so the war in Vietnam could could be justified, so it could be started to make people money. And usually that's what it boils down to is who makes the money? Who does the money go to? And yeah. But the Gulf of Tonkin has been proven to be true, that took place, and it was meant to take place as a means to begin, to have a war. And there you have Vietnam that destroyed so many lives and continues to do so. So, yeah, it's a bad deal. I mean, just the entire way around. But it always leads back to greed, Jacob, you say Hitler's parents were cousins. I have read that, yeah. Yeah, I've read that. But he one thing about Hitler is, people are like, well, it was horrible what he did. Yes, it was. But but what was even more horrible is more shocking are the people, the establishments, the groups that backed him up in doing what he was doing. The people that did. I mean, you got I.G. Farben, selling him gas to kill people, murder people. You had, Henry Ford. Well, he was all for Hitler. George H.W. Bush's father was charged with treason, with something can't really think of it now. Trading with the enemy, whatever. Yeah, with Adolf Hitler. Go figure. He was funneling money to Hitler for the Holocaust. Yeah. And it's a wonderful life, right? When you start looking into these things and you start finding out that, conspiracy, the word has a lot of bad connotations to it, but the word conspiracy hits not just BS. I mean, when you're looking at it, there's a lot of supposed conspiracies that are BS, but when you find out that there's truth, that it's true, that's a moment that will forever change you into a person that into a truth seeker. I know it did me, because when you find that proof, that undeniable proof that, hey, this isn't just a conspiracy. I mean, this isn't just this isn't just BS. This really happened. It just sets off something in you, and you're like, wow. I guess you could. It's like the aha moment. You having a wow moment. It's shocking. It's yeah. And but yes, George H.W. Bush's father was a trading with Hitler. Hold on just a second. Let me see. let's see. I'm going to look this up really quick. Okay. All right. Okay, here it is. How Prescott Bush helped Hitler rise to power. And it says rumors of a link between the U.S. Former U.S. First Family and the Nazi war machine have circulated for decades. It says that Prescott Bush was found guilty of trading with the enemy act with Hitler. Says Prescott Bush, U.S. Senator, former U.S. Senator Prescott Bush, was a director and shareholder of companies that profited from their involvement with the financial backers of Nazi Germany. In his business dealings, which continued until his company assets were seized in 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act, it says, has led more than 60 years later to a civil action for damages being brought in Germany against the Bush family by two former slave laborers at Auschwitz into a hum of pre-election controversy. This is an older article, but it just goes on to say that that there was a connection between the Bushes and the Nazis, and it says, but the new documents, many of which were only declassified last year, show that even after America had entered the war, and when there was already significant information about the Nazis' plans and policies, that Prescott Bush worked for and profited from companies closely involved with the very German businesses that financed Hitler's rise to power. It has also been suggested that the money he made from these dealings helped establish the Bush family fortune and set up its political dynasty. Go figure. That's amazing. So, yeah, those of you that think that that the dream of the Third Reich ended with the fall of Hitler, think again. Yeah, that's alive and well. Yeah, they're not finished. That is a Nazism. That entire mindset, the Nazi mindset, is demonic. I mean, it is satanic. Yeah, I mean, it's just it is inhuman. I mean, you're not going to tell me Hitler was just a man who was, who was a great speaker and had bouts of mania, bouts of depression. Said, "Hey, I think I'm going to change the course of history for forever." No, he was controlled by something. He was controlled by entities and negative entities, and it's very telling that his doctor, his personal physician, Hitler's, who was with him all the time, because he had to get him injections. And well, Hitler would hardly ever sleep, and he would when he did sleep, his doctor would be there, because Hitler was often, it says that he would often be woke up in the night, be awakened in the night by terrible nightmares where he would be screaming that that there were entities trying to destroy him, trying to that just their mere presence frightened him to his very core. And so his personal physician would give him an injection or whatever, and lights out for Hitler, and then he'd wake back up and start all over again. And I'm pretty sure that there was some kind of methamphetamine or some kind of stimulant that he was always taking, because it says that his in the research that I've done, it says that he was constantly being given injections. It's almost like he was being kept under the effects of mind-altering drugs or mind-altering substances, just so these entities or whatever could do their thing. Now, I'm not saying Hitler was innocent by any means, but I'm saying he was willing to open himself up, and when he did, there you go. But that brings me back to the topic of speech and how powerful the spoken word is, and that's a huge thing as far as the Bible goes, as far as Scripture goes. It says over and over and over, and it implies almost every word in the Bible, just how powerful the spoken word is. And when you look at Hitler, you see these, you see thousands of people. As far as your eye can see, and they're all entranced. They're all absolutely in a frenzy, and I call it like a mob mentality or a hive mentality. Yeah, there's a lot of them, but they're of one mind, and that's very, very unsettling. And you see them in the videos on YouTube, the old videos or whatever, and you see them and you look at that. Not only are they all in a frenzy, excited, they're just almost in tears because of this man speaking, but look at their faces, look at their mannerisms, even their physical characteristics are very similar. They're starting to, it's so powerful that they're starting to like merge, not just in spirit, not just in mind, but their very body. And when you watch those, look at their faces, and you'll see how that it's like, man, they don't look exactly the same, but they look, it looks like I don't know, 10,000 men, have been cloned. It's like one man was cloned into 1,000. But it's that power of the spoken word that's casting a literal spell over them, and they're
they're seemingly helpless. It's well, I don't know. Definitely creepy. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick break and be back in 3 minutes. So if you have any questions or comments or some info that you want to share, please do so. See you in just a minute.
Without any warning, we're sucking up the oxygen. The room is getting smaller. We always have it coming, like animals who like to bite, tasting our disaster. 20-something seconds go on and on. 20-something seconds go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go, I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm ready to absorb you, feeding on your triggered lies. My ignorance defines you. The roof is gonna cave in, roaring western dinosaurs, so caught up in the moment. 20-something seconds go on and on. 20-something seconds go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go, I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, 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 if we promise to hold on and to never let go, I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go, I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, and I'm back. Anyway, so yeah, history is really something when you look into it and find out the truth. The true history is somewhat different from history that we've been led to believe. There's been some things left out quite a bit. It's like, yeah, it'd probably be best we not bring this to light, so we'll just sweep it under the rug. I tell you, if you're like me, I want to raise that rug up and look at all the things that are underneath that rug.
let's see, Elaine, you say JFK. This really hits home for me. Um, okay. I I can't watch that. So I don't really know what that is, but um, can can you just describe what he's talking about in that? Of course, I mean I can, but I can't do it live. So um, yeah, there's a lot of information here. Um, it says Prescott Bush, George Bush Sr., George W. Bush all went to Yale University. Um, Prescott, they all three were members of the secretive and influential Skull and Bones Student Society. Oh, okay. Okay, Elaine. She says it is the full version of his secret society speeches. Um, one thing about JFK is his dad was made his fortune during the Prohibition with alcohol, and was not a good guy. I mean, just was not a good guy. Had ties to the mob and or mafia, whatever you want to call it. And then when JFK gets in office, and Robert Kennedy gets in office, his brother, the Attorney General. First thing they do is they say, "Well, we're going to go after the mafia. We're going to go after the mob." And I imagine his father's like, "Oh no, what's going on?" And right. And Lane says, "No wonder a few of the sons were alcoholics." Yeah. But Joseph Kennedy, Joe Kennedy, and there's a lot of weird things about that family. The daughter, JFK's sister, Rose, when she was very young. I mean, very young. And there was some, she was diagnosed as being, I don't know, she was, no, wait, this isn't, it's not Rose. It's the one that was, let's see. Okay, let me see if I can find her name. That's on the tip. Rosemary Kennedy. There was something that had taken place, or something. That really traumatized her. I don't know if it was sexual abuse or what, but what happened was Joe Kennedy says, "Hey, give her a lobotomy," and they did. I think that she died institutionalized at she was I think she was over 100. Yes, exactly. Yep. Ted Kennedy, Edward. Yeah. When he was with the teenage girl and ran off the bridge and swept under the rug. Okay. Here's the A little slow connection tonight, but the forgotten story of who Rosemary Kennedy was. The forgotten story of who Rosemary Kennedy, who was given a lobotomy so that JFK could succeed, is what this article says. I don't know about that, but let me do this again. Okay. She was in 1941, when Rosemary Kennedy was 23, doctors told Joseph Kennedy that a form of psychosurgery known as lobotomy would help calm her mood swings and stop her occasional violent outbursts. You know, a form of psychotherapy? I mean, a psychosurgery? More like shutting your brain down. I mean, completely. That's horrible. This is more than 7 decades ago. So I think she died at like 101 or something like that. More than 7 decades ago. This was an article written 2018. 70 years ago, JFK's troubled sister Rosemary was left disabled by a disastrous lobotomy. It's like, you know, why would they? Well, she was 86. Why would they do that? I mean, why would he, you know, agree or have a lobotomy, for God's sake, you know? And maybe it was that they said, you know, that this is this will help calm her. Yeah, big time. But let's see. Says Rosemary should have become a socialite like her mother. Unfortunately, the intellectual disabilities that grew increasingly worse as she grew older would ensure that her entire life would be spent away from public scrutiny. The only details of her early childhood come from what her mother and siblings would provide in later years, but the problems in Rosemary's motor cognitive development were clear enough, especially compared to her 2 older brothers, Joseph Jr. and Jack. Her concerned parents tried taking her to numerous specialists for treatment, but none of them could provide any answers. While Rosemary started school at the age of 5 in a regular kindergarten class, it quickly became apparent that she couldn't keep up with the other children in her class. I'm not sure what she would be diagnosed as having today, if anything, but a lobotomy? I mean, no, there was no reason for that. Along with, it says here, this is something that I've always kind of had a feeling that happened. Rosemary tried her best and apparently functioned as borderline normal for most of her childhood. It was only when she reached her early 20s that her condition grew worse. Whether due to grief at being unable to live up to her parents' expectations or for other reasons, she began acting out and became more difficult for her family to control. Along with gaining a great deal of weight, she had also become sexually mature and the shy child excuse no longer worked. Not only was Rosemary unable to pass as a normal child, but she was also prone to violent tantrums, including throwing objects and physically assaulting family members. In the summer of 1941, she even assaulted her grandfather, John J. Honey Fitzgerald. You know what that sounds like. Sounds like she was being abused. She also became sexually mature. You know, why would they add that? I mean, it's like she became sexually mature early, which would be a sign of sexual abuse. I'm just speculating. Something to think about. But it says that she was living in a convent school in Washington, D.C., though reports of her late-night wandering worried her parents even more. The nuns who ran the school even suggested that she might be picking up men and had become sexually promiscuous, something that terrified both of her parents. Why? Well, because their son, they've got him set up to be president. And why did she have a lobotomy? You do the math. She wouldn't toe the line. She's like, I'm going to live my own life. And they're like, no, you're not. You know, you're not going to tarnish. You're not going to tarnish our chance to put him in the White House. You know. So next thing you know, she's getting a spike through her brain. In the fall of 1941, not long after the incident with her grandfather, Rosemary was admitted to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. for what her mother would later describe as a certain form of neurosurgery. In other words, a prefrontal lobotomy. In 1941, the prospect of curing mental patients with a simple brain operation must have seemed like the answer to the prayers of parents such as Rose and Joseph Kennedy. Unfortunately, the reality was far more horrible than anyone realized. Though not the first surgeon to operate on the human brain, it was Portuguese neurologist Antonio Egas Moniz who first popularized lobotomies as a humane alternative to the often brutal asylums that were used to house the mentally ill in most places. It goes into severing the neural connections between the brain's prefrontal areas and the rest of the brain. It says Moniz hoped to suppress the violent behavior of many mental patients and make them more manageable. Yeah. The procedure involved drilling 2 holes in the skull and inserting a thin surgical instrument. By carefully rotating the instrument, the surgeon could carefully sever the brain fibers. Wow. Yeah. Right. Let's see. Lane says prefrontal lobotomy, which was performed as therapy for people with mental disorders, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual people, women who were considered too sexual, criminals, and drug addicts. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, wow. I mean, who made them judge, you know, to destroy someone's life? I mean, by, you know, I mean, you are cutting the main line to the brain, and you're leaving just enough to where that, you know, there's not a complete power failure, but as far as any data, any useful information getting through, yeah, you can forget about that. I mean, the person is a prisoner. What's left of the person is a prisoner in their own body, and that's horrible. Yes, Elaine, she says, for the unsuitables in society. She went from a fifth grade mentality to that of a 2-year-old. Exactly. And that's like, they're saying, well, what was the family's secret? Why was she? Why was that hush hush? Why was that such a was a big deal with the Kennedy family? I mean, they didn't talk about that. It was swept under the rug. They didn't answer any questions about it. Only later, like 70 years later, did the truth start to come out, or theories start to come out about what actually happened, and that was just that. I think she was being sexually abused. Now I don't know by who, but she was, to me, her behavior or whatever, it's like she was possibly, like a, I don't know, allowed to be abused by men, or as a child, and she gets enough of it, and enough abuse, and she starts acting out. She starts fighting back, because I see, Elaine, you say because they were grooming their son Joe Jr. for the presidency when he died in war, then they groomed JFK. Exactly right. And they told her, they said, you're going to abide by our rules. Don't take this the wrong way, but in my opinion, Joseph Kennedy sucked. Okay? I mean, he was not a nice guy. I mean, Joe Kennedy, yeah. You read stories about him, you read about his life. The guy was a jerk. The guy was an asshole. I mean, he sucked. Okay? Sorry for the language, but yeah. Just, a scumbag. And that's why, this is really, really going to be controversial, but, it wouldn't surprise me if news, came out, or news, surfaced that he had something to do with or that he knew about, both sons being assassinated. Because, I mean, he was in it. I mean, he was in the in with the mob. I mean, in with the, people that they were going to get rid of, Elaine, you say in 1958, JFK went to visit her, and he fully understood the depths of what was done to her. Then he went and established regulations, legislations, camps, research foundations to help the disabled, along with the Special Olympics. Yeah, that's, man, that's really touching. Man, made my hair stand up. Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is Joe Kennedy was dead set. He was going to put one of his sons in the White House. Why? For power. Not for them. They were just a pawn. He wanted to control them so he could be in power. I mean, the guy was a, friggin' narcissist. I mean, he was, read about him. I mean, if you can stomach it. But this is just it. That happened. And to his shock and probably horror, his son, God rest his soul, John F. Kennedy, And now he's not taking orders from anybody. He's going to do the right thing. And you can imagine Joe Kennedy, no, I put you there, I put you there. Joe Kennedy again, made his fortune rum running, alcohol during the Prohibition. So the guy had a lot of money, a lot of power, and he wants to put his son, like you said, the first son died in war. So what happens? Well, got another one here in line. If something happens to him, then, we have two more. He's fully equipped. Put him in there, and then his son, Robert, becomes Attorney General. So you can imagine how happy he was. He's in charge now. He just has to tell his sons what to do. They do it, and he rules the United States from behind the scenes. Only it didn't work that way because they said, "Yeah, we're not playing ball with anybody." Yes, the Kennedy curse. Yep. And they're like, "We're not playing ball with anybody." And you can imagine the rage and the, it would almost be like he was let's see, what was it? Scorned. He's probably saying, "I spent all this money, I did all these things for you, I killed all these people, I did all this stuff to put you in office. I did this for you, No, you didn't. You did it for yourself." And then what happens, Well, JFK has his brains blown out in public, and Robert Kennedy, in I believe it was 1968, was shot in a hotel kitchen, and there's a lot of controversy with that too, because things aren't what it seems as far as his assassination. But yeah, both sons, boom, boom, they're taken care of. They're out of the way, which leaves Edward, and he never ran for president. Go figure why. Be like a death sentence. But his life wasn't without controversy either. But yes, the Kennedy curse. And JFK's son was killed in a plane crash. Yeah, that family is just really, you said it right, Elaine, a curse. But that was John and Robert Kennedy. They were against the New World Order. They were against the beast system. And they openly fought against it. And that's why that they're both dead today. It is because it is that powerful. It is, and like I said, he was murdered, assassinated, in public. Right in front of God and everybody. Why? An example. Don't trifle with the powers that be. And if anybody says that any president has absolute power, you are badly mistaken. I would go so far as to say, if you believe that any sitting president has any power, But I believe that some have more power than others, but ultimately, they're not the ones in power. They're puppets. And they have puppet masters. Literal puppet masters. And they know, this is just speculation, this is my opinion. They know before they go into office, they're told, yeah, when your string is pulled, you do this. When this string's pulled, you do that. If you choose not to, you will suffer the consequences. And it's very serious. I mean, so those that, now there have been some that have been in office that were part of the New World Order, the beast system itself. Some have been in office that were not a part of it, but they were front men, just complete puppets. Yeah, and that's, it's creepy. Because most people, they vote and vote for the, president and, who's going to run the country. And it's like, in my opinion, presidents aren't voted in. No, your vote's an illusion. I mean, it's a lie. Your vote doesn't put a president in. And I have nothing against people that vote, but let's face it. I mean, it is not a matter of how many votes a person gets that's running. It's their bloodline. It's who has the better blood, the pure blood, the better genetics in their lineage. Who has more powerful people in their genealogy. It is not a matter of votes. It's not a matter of what they do or intelligence or anything like that. It's their bloodline. And the Kennedys happen to be one of the most powerful bloodlines on earth. And you've got the supposedly there's 13 bloodlines. Now, I don't know if I agree with that or not, but there's supposedly 13 bloodlines that rule the earth, and the Kennedy family's one. The Onassis family is another, which after JFK was assassinated, Jackie Kennedy, his wife, married Aristotle Onassis of the Onassis family dynasty, and like I said, which is also one of the 13 supposed bloodlines that rule the world. So anyway, pretty interesting when you start going down this these different conspiracies, and you start saying, well, some of it is absolutely insane, but some of it is feasible. And if it's feasible, then it's possible. And if it's possible, then it could be. And it's up to each person, I mean, just use your own mind and make up your own mind about what you read, what you find out. That's right, Elaine. When you go down the rabbit hole, yes. It's like Morpheus is in the Matrix. Follow me, and I will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. I love that. And it goes deep, by the way. Whoa. Yeah, you'll be like Alice in Wonderland when you hit some information. You'll think up is down and right is left, and I mean, yeah, it can be really well. It's life changing. It will definitely make you change the way that you live life and the way that you view life. It's like people that are always talking about CNN. Oh, they make up their news. It's all BS. It's all anybody that listens to CNN, they're idiots. It's like that's manufactured news. And then they turn to Fox and they're like, all right, I got the truth here. Really? If one news outlet is manufactured news, it's just pretty common knowledge that the rest are too. Good cop, bad cop, good news channel, bad news channel, that kind of BS. I mean, misdirection. Yeah. CNN, it would not surprise me if CNN, Fox, every major news media, whatever, was all owned by the same company, all controlled by the same power. It's just that they said, okay, we're going to choose one to be the bad manufactured news BS. Why? Because we need a bad guy. We need something to divert people's attention, because if not, they're going to see it in every major media that we have. So we have to have a scapegoat. So CNN became that scapegoat, in my opinion. So they dumped everything on CNN. What does that do? It takes everybody's eyes, everybody's hatred, everybody's despises CNN, and it also makes them embrace Fox and MSNBC and all these other outlets that are probably just as bad, if not worse. But what you have is you have experts. You have people that are experts at this misdirection. I mean, they're like freaking Houdini. I mean, smoke and mirrors. And so, yeah, that's how that works. Is you take the years ago, like back in the early '90s, it was said that news, came out that it was like the Washington Post, the New York Times, and I'm not sure. I think it was like the L.A. Times or whatever. It was they were all owned by Sung My Moon, or however you say that, of the Moonies. Yeah, the Korean cult leader, had more money than most people on the planet. Yeah, he owned a lot of major media in the United States. And it would surprise you that that before a story could be printed, certain big story could be printed, it had to be approved by him. Yeah, that's insane. But unfortunately, it's the truth. So you might want to rethink what. Just because it's news doesn't mean it's true. Elaine, you say bloodlines: Astor, Bundy, Collins, DuPont, Freeman, Kennedy, Lee, Onassis, Rockefeller, Russell, Van Dunn, Merovingian. I don't. Okay, Rothschild. Okay, I've heard of all of them. The Merovingian is the only one that is not a name. The Merovingian is the Merovingian dynasty from that was in 600 A.D. Well, it was the 600 A.D. 600s to 781 A.D. Is when the Merovingians ruled in southwestern France. And many people say that that the Merovingian, that the supposed Antichrist that will be controlled by the beast in the world beast system is going to come from the Merovingian bloodline, from the Merovingian dynasty, which actually wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, and in the Matrix, the one of the most powerful characters in the Matrix is this devilish character called the Merovingian, and yeah. But yes, those of those people, of those families, Astor, Jacob Astor was on the Titanic when it sunk. Let's see. I think Collins was too. You got DuPont, which that's a big name. Kennedy, Lee is a L-I. Lee is that's Chinese. Then Onassis is Greek. Rockefeller, that would be American. Right. These came up as the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. Let's see. Rockefeller would be the United States. Van Dunn, I don't know. Merovingian, it would be France. Rothschild would be London, Europe. The others, I don't really know. But yes, 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. And then you think about the number 13. It's like you have. It's like I was talking, the other night about. You have, this blueprint. You have this pattern. Okay, let me say, Van Dunn is Dutch. Okay. Freeman, Bundy, Collins. Rothschild was originally German, but I think they're based out of London now. But the 13 bloodlines are. It's a blueprint. It's a pattern, just like the 12 sons of Joseph, or of Jacob, which became 13 sons when Joseph was sold into slavery, and his 2 sons took his place, became 13. And then the hidden son, there's always one hidden, or there's always one that has to go away. In Jacob's 12 sons, Joseph is the one that had to go away. You have the 13. Well, you have the 12 zodiac signs, astrological signs. Then you have the one hidden, or supposedly hidden, Ophiuchus, the serpent handler. You have 12 disciples, 13 including Jesus. Again, there's always one that is hidden, or one that has to go away. Jesus was the one that had to go away, that was hidden for a while, and then was revealed again. And that's that you have these 13 bloodlines, which I think could very well be another blueprint or pattern of the zodiac. And one of those families, if so, one of those bloodlines is hidden. It's the hidden one. So let's see: Astor, Bundy, Collins, DuPont, Freeman, Kennedy, Lee, Onassis, Rockefeller, Russell, Van Dunn, Merovingian, Rothschild. Out of those, the 13th and the hidden one would be the Merovingian. Why? Because it's the bloodline that the man of sin, the son of perdition, the son of hell, so to speak, the one that will rule the beast system by the beast himself, or by the beast itself, will be from, in my opinion, from the Merovingian bloodline. So, and that would be, thank you for that, Elaine, because that would be an awesome show. The Merovingian bloodline is very interesting. They are, and I've done so much research on it. They're from southwestern France. They were said to they were called the long-haired kings, and they were said to be in the from the genealogy, from the bloodline of Samson in the Bible, and it's said that they derived their power from their long hair. Or again, they were called the long-haired kings, and but it was also said that that they were of the tribe of Benjamin, and that I believe that was the case, and that there was a red star that was between their shoulder blades, and it says in Genesis, Jacob is describing each son, and he describes Benjamin, I believe, as having a red cross or something in that description between his shoulders, and then the Merovingians actually, they trace their bloodline back to supposedly children of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that. I'm not saying that I don't believe it. I'm just simply putting that out there because that's what they believe. That's what they believed, that they were the offspring of the bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They also had red hair, which would be which leads me to think about King David, and the Bible says he was ruddy, he was red, and so maybe red hair, long red hair, or I know that his son, Absalom, had long red hair, or blondish red hair. Yeah, so that's interesting. It really is. See. Really? Okay. Let me check that out. That's really interesting. Because the ones that contacted me, it was really shocking at how at how much that they were not their main focus was not on anything but the spiritual. I was like, I would have thought that it would have been, more of, what are you planning to do, this and that, and no, it was they wanted to know basically what I knew spiritually, and that's all it was about was spiritual questions, about spiritual things, and I'm like, wow, I did not expect for any group or anything like that to be so interested in spirituality, but there you go. And just like you said, Elaine, a lot of the articles in the very government talk about satanic influences. So those of you that think that it's just a crock or whatever, think again. I mean, there's truth to it. Elaine, you say, I saw a movie the other day about conspiracies on the Titanic and who was allowed to be saved. Right, exactly. And a lot of people say that that it was the Jesuits that were the ones that said, "Yeah, that ship is going down," because of who was on board. One was Jacob Astor. And there were a lot of others that were coming to New York to set up big money, big businesses. And it said that the Jesuit priest, the Jesuits, they said, no, we don't think so. So they contacted the captain of the Titanic, and who was a Jesuit. And if you want to talk about real creepy, real life, just hardcore, beyond strange, then we would talk about the Jesuits, because they could, if they get an order from their superior, like to kill their own mother, they would do so without thinking twice about it. Well, it said that the captain of the Titanic was given an order by his superior: sink the ship, make sure it goes down, And there was a Jesuit priest that was about to board the Titanic, or he had boarded the Titanic before it, set sail. And it said that he received a telegram of 4 words: get off that ship. And he did. And yep, he did. The ship left, Titanic left and sank. So that's another huge group if not the biggest, most powerful group that pulls the strings of control, the Jesuits. Very powerful. I mean, a matter of fact, I mean, it's really taking a chance even bringing that up, because they are powerful. They are. There's many in power and agencies and everything that they're Jesuits, and just because they're not Jesuit priests doesn't mean that they don't work for the Jesuits, and that, you know, they don't do their bidding. But the Jesuits were with Hitler. They, you know, they were right there with him, and so was the Vatican. I mean, for all practical purposes, you know, just to be honest, yeah, the Vatican was right there. Matter of fact, when the Allies entered Germany, and they were gonna get all these Nazi war criminals and everything, they were all gone. Where the hell did they go? Well, it seems like that the Vatican helped a lot of them escape. You see, they got word before the Allies made it there that, you know, that Germany was that the German forces were falling, and it was just a matter of time. And so the Vatican helped get all of these Nazi war criminals to safety by dressing them up as priests and giving them passports and everything like that. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, the United States, your country, Project Paperclip, look up Project Paperclip, where the United States went in and rather than put these scientists, these Nazi scientists, rocket scientists, and God only knows what, rather than put them on trial and punish them, they brought them to the United States under assumed identities and had them work on, had a lot of them work on the atomic bomb in New Mexico, the Manhattan Project. Yeah, that was Nazi scientists that were rescued by the Allies and brought to the United States. A lot of them that weren't rocket scientists, but were, psychologists, scientists, doctors that were Nazis were brought to the United States, given false identities, and just merged into society. And nobody knew any better, nobody knew any different, which is really shocking when you think about it, But, yeah, that's, how Elaine, you say, you've got that link there, CIA.gov/library/center FOR. Yes, since it's the first of the year, organizations have released materials. Yeah, it seems like it. Let's see. Yeah, but that's it's like when you think about it, it's like people are like, well, yeah, it was a good thing that the that the Allies made it there, and they did away with those Nazis, and it's like, yeah, they really didn't do away with them the way you think they did. If you call basically rewarding them and giving them a great life, setting them up as punishing them, then okay, but man, that's rough stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the Project Paperclip is yeah, that's very interesting. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Project Paperclip was a secret program of the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, largely carried out by special agents of Army CIC, in which more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians such as Werner von Braun and his V-2 rocket team were recruited after the end of World War II in Germany, taken to the U.S. for government employment, primarily between 1945 and 1959. Many were former members, and some were former leaders of the Nazi Party. Werner von Braun and Walt Disney were very good friends. And Werner von Braun was the first head of NASA, And he's a damn Nazi, so, go figure. Then it goes on to say that the primary purpose of Operation Paperclip was U.S. military advantage in the Soviet-American Cold War in the space race. The Soviet Union was more aggressive in forcibly recruiting more than 2,200 German specialists, a total of more than 6,000 people, including family members, with Operation, I'm not even going to pronounce that, Osa Vacuum, during one night on October 22nd, 1946. And you can look that up, like I said, by doing a search for Project Paperclip. But it says, in a secret directive circulated on September the 3rd, 1946, President Harry Truman officially approved Operation Paperclip and expanded it to include 1,000 German scientists under temporary limited custody. And it talks about how they were captured or whatever, but that many of them, says there, a project to halt the research was codenamed Project Safe Haven and was not initially targeted against the Soviet Union. It's how the concern that the German scientists might immigrate and continue the research in countries such as Spain, Argentina, or Egypt, all of which had sympathized with Nazi Germany. And that's what happened, was a lot of them did go to Spain, Argentina, Brazil. I don't know about Egypt, but it's the first time I've read that. But anyway, and that would be for a whole nother show. You start getting into that, there's a lot of information there. But it's certainly not boring. I promise you that. But yes, Werner von Braun of the V-2 rocket team. Now, what you have to understand is when you say the V-2 rocket team, okay, it's like, okay, well, they built rockets. Well, they did, but they used the Jews. They used Jew slave labor. So much so that they would work the slaves until they literally died on the job. I mean, just die, just fall out right there. They were feeding them just so, starving them. I mean, and working them, nonstop, that they would drop dead there, and they would just keep working with these dead, with these dead people there, if not walking on them. I mean, they didn't matter. And you bring somebody like that over for whatever reason. If you ask me, there's no good reason. Somebody like that is just, it's inhuman. I mean, that's from accounts that were written of what it was like at one of those rocket manufacturing plants in Germany, that they worked the slaves to death, and when they died, when they dropped dead, they just continued to work. They just walked on their bodies, and that's how much they mattered. So, in my opinion, there's no way, I don't care what the reason was, that anybody that would approve of such such behavior, there's no reason to give anybody like that a pat on the back or anything but pure hell, if you ask me. But anyway, well, we have reached the mark tonight. As far as that goes, I'm trying to schedule a guest, and when I do, I will be sure and let everyone know on Twitter and and all of the other multimedia that I'm on, and also like to give a shout out to new listeners in France, Canada, and Croatia. Welcome. Hope you continue to listen. Also, if you'd like to contact me, you can contact me at the textursistpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, any topics, if you have a topic that you want to discuss or you want to talk about, and join me on the show via phone, send me an email, let me know what you're thinking about, and we will discuss it, and hey, we can do it. So anyway, love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. We'll see you next time.